Hello and welcome to Head and Shoulders, where we cover athletes' performances and otherwise that are head and shoulders above the rest. And today you saw the title. Now, it's not that Usain Bolt is broke. His net worth is over 30 million US dollars, but it's broke compared to other athletes in general. He's ranked when he was competing at number 32 as far as his salary was concerned. Now, I don't know how they, when I was looking into this, I don't know how this measured, if they measured it out of annualized profits or if it was, hey, we're going to take his $30 million, scrunch it all up into 1 year. He's the number 32 ranked uh, earner as far as an athlete compared to other athletes that were stretching their contracts out and doing that. Now, I don't know how they did that list. That's the one thing I do not know. I just know that he was ranked number 32 in the world. From what they implied, it was just taking his year to year salary that he would get. Now, this is what I want to say. The purpose of this channel is we're trying to stretch the boundaries when it comes to track and field. Let me take out my annotation tool as always. We want to take out the boundaries when it comes to track and field, and we're trying to push this so that athletes can get paid more. They get paid more, just like what happened to FloJo when she focused on track and field full time. Her times dropped massively. So overall, we would get a faster, more competitive sport. Now, for the athletes, it might be harder because if you think about it, if everybody's getting paid a pretty good wage, right? At least a base wage where they have a quote unquote living wage, then and all they have to do is focus on that, then some of the more elite athletes that have a little bit more talent will have to compete against other people that may have talent that didn't peak as early or they gave up because the pay wasn't there. And so it would make it harder on them. But overall, as a fan's perspective, hey, we would get the benefit because we're seeing faster times, more competitive people. So it's a cost and benefit to both sides. In one way, it's good for us to have faster and more closely seen races more often. And in other ways, for the athlete, it's harder. So for that one, let me know what you all think in the comment section below for that point. But here, I'm going to put my case here about how we could change up track and field. And one of the ways, without having to establish a new track and field league that will compete against USATF or the other track and field organizations in the world. We may not have to do that if we do some of the following. And I'll go over this here in this article about Usain Bolt. So he earned, and this was in 2016. So his contract, $32 million, right? It says $32.5 million in earnings over the last 12 months from appearances, prize money, and sponsors, roughly 10 times that of other track and field stars like Mo Farah and Ashton Eaton. All right. Just like you saw from here. So if he made that all in a year, so he had Gatorade, Hublot, Virgin Media, Visa, but then they dropped him or he canceled the contract, whichever one. He gets $1 to $4 million annually from Puma. And that Puma contract, I believe, lasts to 2023 as an ambassador. Here it is. Here we go. Right here through 2025. So there you go. Now, as it says here, Puma has him getting $10 million annually. Now, that's just from bonuses and records and medals and whatnot. So we don't know what his, obviously, he has a contract through 2025. He's not competing right now. He stopped as of 2017. So anything after that, he's obviously not getting records or medal bonuses from competitions that he's not competing in. So now he's getting paid like they say here. Cristiano Ronaldo, LeBron James, Federer, Messi, and everything like that. Why is that? Well, the way in which he animated the track in 2008. the way in which he approached this whole thing and took this to the world uh, as his icon, as his logo, that is what classified him like that. Now, this is kind of reminding me of a Richardson, except she's a lot more crass, or she's not as refined as how Usain Bolt is. So let's look at this. Ronaldo, one of the highest paid athletes in the world, and actually he is the highest paid athlete most years when it comes down to it. $88 million over there. Now, let me stop right here. As far as here, we can see this list of people that have become billionaires through their investments and everything, their endorsement deals and whatnot. Michael Jordan, most of that came from really his he bought the Hornets at a cheap price. They used to be called the Bobcats. They renamed them the Hornets, and he made a lot of money off of that. We got Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, and so on and so forth down this list. Now, obviously, they had time to build it up. Usain Bolt hasn't been around as long as many of the people here. So, of course, his net worth, which is $30 million, right around there, give or take a few million, he hasn't had enough time to build it up. But will he be able to even touch anywhere near this list of even the bottom person around 400 or $500 million? Not likely. And here's why. And before going into that, let's go over here. The minimum salary for a 0-year contract person in the NBA is almost $900,000. And that's for the 2020-2021 season. It goes up for the 2021-22 season and so on and so forth. I guess adjusting for inflation. Now we look at MLB or the NFL, and the minimum salary, $600,000. Then we go to the MLB, minimum salary, $570,000. Now, this isn't including their endorsement deals. That isn't including so many other things that may come there. That is just saying that this is the minimum to ensure, as they say here, that the athletes are fairly compensated for the work that they do. I don't know about you guys, but the work that they do about hitting the ball, running down the field, and everything like that seems excessive for what they're doing, right? Yes and no. If you bring the eyes, you bring the entertainment, you bring that, you can get paid comparatively, which is why athletes typically get paid more than somebody that is a school teacher and so on and so forth. People can argue about those things so much. What we're doing is athletes to athletes. And if they bring the eyes in MLB, if they bring the entertainment, that value, they get compensated for that. Now, here's the dirty thing here with track and field. Now, Andre DeGrasse revealed his contract, $11.25 million with up to $30 million in bonuses. Now, this puts him on the rank of Usain Bolt. Now, those bonuses would probably be breaking the world record, getting a gold, so on and so forth. Now, one of the things that track and field is here, you notice, is hush hush about the pro contracts. Like, this wouldn't even been a big deal had this been done differently. But he signed with Puma. So when he signed with Puma, apparently they might have had been able to show, hey, this is how much we're paying. Now, you notice in NFL, MLB, so on and so forth, NBA, even in soccer, or as is known as the rest of the world, football, they talk about their salaries. Those are the big deals. It's like it's pumping up. Everybody's competing against each other. Now, one of the biggest things here, let me find that point here, is sponsors don't want that out because it allows them to keep the contracts low. So we can, fuck over a Usain Bolt. We can fuck over, not saying that Puma did because they revealed that, but saying that things like, a Nike, maybe Adidas or somebody like that, they can fuck over the athletes by paying them low because they're like, hey, don't reveal this to anybody else. And what we do know based on Canada, compared to even the US and Canada, to my knowledge. And anybody that's Canadian that's here watching this now, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. But if the contracts or your pay, your salaries are discussed on a regular basis and people know what the person next to them at a regular job, this is talking about a regular job, then that makes everybody else's wages go up. From what I've seen, the data that I've seen, when your salary is discussed, everybody's wages go up. But somehow in the US, at many areas, they don't really talk about the salaries. It seems like it's rude. And so with Olympic sports or sports that are tied to the Olympics in general, like what they were trying to do here, Runner's World, was trying to estimate how much McLaughlin would make on this list based on, I guess, prize money and everything. Obviously, they don't know the contracts. So they were saying, hey, Justin Gatlin would make this much, Allison Felix, and so on and so forth. And McLaughlin, the young upright star at the time, this was 2018, make sure. Yeah, 2018, when this article was written, they were saying, hey, she's going to get way more than any of these older guys here. Now, you wouldn't have to necessarily even estimate this. And they were even estimating that they get more than Ruff and Jenny Simpson and Eliud Kipchoge. Now, marathon runners, road runners, they typically get paid a lot because, hey, marathon runners don't come up that often. These marathons are large events and you get appearance fees and so on and so forth. But we wouldn't have this headline about, wow, this guy's getting paid this much if everybody is allowed to talk about it. Everybody gets allowed to talk about it. Then somebody like a Usain Bolt, he probably would have got paid more than $33 million a year. Or in that. It's funny because his net worth is $30 million from what I've seen. If he got paid $33 million a year, like this Forbes article was ascertaining. Now, this is more of a clickbait from my opinion, because it seemed like he got paid $10 million a year, at least from his Puma contract, and then whatever else is on there. And I'm going to assume that Puma was probably his biggest sponsor. And this was toward the end of his career because his net worth wouldn't be $30 million if he literally got paid $33 million, unless he's like blowing money. Now, athletes do blow their money. So, I mean, if he's blowing money left and right, 33 million, and he was in the sport for a decade, over a decade, obviously his contract got more toward the end. But if you encompass at least 2 of those years, let's say $33 million plus a $10 million, assuming he didn't do anything because 2017, he wasn't at the top of his form, right? So if you say 33 million plus 10, I mean, shouldn't he have a higher net worth? Maybe. That's up to him whether he spends it. But this is just what I'm putting up here. What do you all think? Let me know if you agree or disagree, or should I talk about this further? Because I believe there are ways to get athletes paid more. And one of them is to talk about how much they're paid. I don't think any athlete should sign an agreement with any sponsor at all unless they say, hey, we want to talk about how much we get paid to the public. I want this to be shared to everybody else. Like any new athlete, if you happen to be watching this channel or anything, or future athlete, I know when the money's there is one thing. You could be even agreeing with me right now. And then the money is there in front of your face. And then you're a young 19, 20, 18-year-old or something like that. Or you're finally able to get a sponsor or something like that. And you're 24, 25, right? I would push that you don't sign that contract. It's just like one of those 360 deals where they try to take all of your money for those musicians and everything. Don't sign the contract unless you are able to talk about it. And it looks like right now that Puma allows their athletes to talk about how much they're making. Now, what does that do for us as the fans, aside from that? What is it helping us that DeGrasse is a millionaire or all of these athletes are a millionaire? Well, in some ways, it means absolutely diddly squat. In other ways, it means that as these athletes are able to push the bounds here, we as fans, knowing that they are getting paid so much, if the top athletes can get paid these amounts of money, then when an up and comer comes there, because what I think happened is that Usain Bolt paved the way for athletes to come after him, just like Michael Jordan paved the way for athletes to come after him to get these huge freaking contracts. And they might not be as good as Usain Bolt. They might not be as dominant when it comes to championships. They might be as dominant as Asafa Powell was on the Diamond League circuit, or as Michael Johnson was when he was undefeated for a decade in the 400 and the 200 for over 8 years, or I might get those flipped up. So they might not have the same talent to break world records all the time. But what we can say is that as the higher athletes are getting paid more, as a McLaughlin gets paid, maybe if we can get these athletes to get paid more right here, right? If we can get the top athletes to get paid more, then as the new people that are coming up, we get them to pay at least a living wage, right? I don't think anybody's in disagreement for that, because if you're trying to do this as your full time, how can you do it as your full time and you're working a job, a regular job? And that's what happens when a sport is tied to the Olympics. And that's why I keep saying, hey, we need to have a different league, whether it's like how they have the American Track League. That's not an American Track League unless we have teams surrounding it, unless we have something that's separate there where the prize money is there. Obviously, they're building it up, so it could form to something later. But if the focus continues to be the Olympics, then I find it hard to believe that we're going to have more people getting paid money like Andre DeGrasse and everything like that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Comment, like, share with others, and subscribe. Actually, I have one more thing that I forgot to bring up here. So we're looking at golfers. I had to bring in the tennis players and the golfers because, another individual sport. Track and field, I would push for it being more of a team sport than an individual sport. And I think that will be the easiest way to get athletes to get paid more, other than especially the athletes that are trying to make their way into it versus just the top athletes that got the best masseuses, the best facilities, the best everything else. So the tennis player salary, it looks like the average is $64,000 a year. So I guess $31 an hour. Now, does that mean that that's what they see? Obviously, this is before taxes that are taken out. This is also not compensating for the travel fees and everything like that. So a lot of pro tennis players may not be, making the best. So it's just like, hey, it's like other jobs, except you getting a lot more taken out, because if you're a tennis player, you got to hire a masseuse, probably have a facility. If you want to be the top tennis player, if you're an average tennis player that's making somewhere around here, right, $64,000 a year, maybe you skip out on the masseuse. You just go there once or twice a month. Maybe you skip out on the ice baths that you could take and the other facilities that you can get. That's just part of the process. Everybody can't get it. That's not what I'm arguing for either. But the golfers, I mean, golf equipment costs a lot of money, just like tennis equipment and things like that. That's where like this is low, but that's not including sponsorship deals and everything like that. Now, when it comes to golfers, they could be paid as low as $1,000 to as high as, I mean, where's Tiger Woods at? Hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. That's hundreds of thousands. Tiger Woods somewhere on this list, but we already know that. Even somebody here taking in $750. It just depends on if they're on a mini tour, the pro tours in Europe or the US, and things of that nature. So, and that's not including you paying your caddy, what, $1,000 or $2,000 every time they show up. You're paying for travel, hotels, you're paying for food that you otherwise wouldn't have, I guess, eaten. You could have home cooked meals, but maybe food just gets baked in. It's like, hey, I just eat 20% more food because I'm an athlete, or or I'm competing versus before. So maybe that's not the big thing. But every little thing counts. Maybe you need a sports psychiatrist now because of the pressures here. There's a lot of things that come into play. And I think the most comparable ones are golf, except that's a lot more expensive equipment, and tennis to this, or boxing to track and field, because those are more individual sports. I think if track and field takes a team approach, like the NCAAs that you, or even the youth, it goes from team, 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 and then is individual when they get to the pro level. That's like the weirdest thing. It's team here at high school, team for college, and then individual when you get to the pro level, except for relays or when you go to national events or international events. Aside from that, every single time you show up on a track is individual. And just like everything else, yeah, you're an individual player on a basketball team. You're an individual player on a football team. Yeah, you still have to make sure you do your job. But when it's a team-based atmosphere with track and field, when it's something like that, we can start seeing more Shelly Ann Fraser Prices that come out. What if you get a whole team of them? What if this was a team-based sport right here? And I guess I'm going a little bit longer. This is overtime for people here. This would be great for the broadcast show. But what if we had a team? Wouldn't this be very interesting? We see these 4x1s, right? At the pro level. What if all of those athletes could have been recruited to one team? You see a Shelly Ann Fraser Price. You see a Sha'Carri Richardson on the same team on the 4x1 going against other people. You see Okagbare, even though she did that later on. I don't know why this is rasterized. I need to get a better picture, but this is like the best picture I can find of her as far as they're celebrating and doing what she does. You getting Elaine Thompson. Where the heck is my picture of Elaine Thompson? I think this is the most used one on YouTube. I swear, all the videos with Elaine Thompson, this is the one. But this is such a good picture. I can see why people use it. What if you get all of these athletes at the top of the line on the same team? Think about how fast the relays would be. Think about what you can do at a team event. That's assuming that you could get them on the same team. What if you only got two of them? What if you got a Richardson and a Shelly Ann Fraser Price on the same team, other than Elaine Thompson? And it was like Elaine Thompson and Dina Asher Smith on the team. That would be crazy, would it not? And I think I'm going to make a different video on that to go into detail about a team-based sport. Obviously, that's like a fantasy league there. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And I'll talk to you on the next one.